in the country. And they will also be talking tonight on national security and state of the nation. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Now let's start with, I want to start with, you were visibly seen, because I had to play a longer version of that your meeting. Visibly seen in all the resolution, in all the meetings that you heard with that. Then the question now goes to, what was your role? Who gave you, what role did you play there? How come you are not doing that job at this moment?
Well, I was simply, I am a Nigerian, and I love this country. And when I was called upon to come and make a contribution to the negotiations and the discussions, I considered it to be an honor and a privilege to participate. And basically what happened was that those that had moderated this issue and tried to come in to intervene to stop the strike on the directives of Mr. President, that is Governor Yaya Bello of Kogi State, he was saddled with the job of resolving this issue within 72 hours by Mr. President. And he took permission from the President to involve those he felt could make a contribution in a positive way to the resolution of the crisis. It was a very, very difficult, challenging task. And those that were on strike made it clear that they were only prepared to negotiate with Yaya Bello of Kogi State. They weren't prepared to talk to anybody else who would represent the federal government. So that's how it all started. And they negotiated for a couple of days. And then they got to a point whereby one of the demands that those that were on strike made was that they did not feel safe in the South, particularly in the Southwest, and they felt that that needed to be resolved before anything else. And their greatest concern with the activities of those they believed had targeted their people over a period of time and had slaughtered them in the Southwest. And they mentioned the name of Chief Sunday Adeyemo, Sunday Igboho, who is a good friend of mine and who I have immense respect for and who I collaborate with on many, many issues. We're very close. And it was based on that, they actually said to the governor that they needed an assurance from Sunday Igboho that the people of the North would be safe in the Southwest if they were to lift the strike. That was one of a number of conditions. Nobody could reach Sunday Igboho, nobody could talk to him apart from myself. And Governor Yaya Bello knew this because over the couple of weeks before then, during the Shasha crisis, we had all collaborated with the governor of Oyo State, Sunday Igboho, and a number of others to try to bring a resolution to that and tone down the violence and stop the violence. And that was very successful. And he knew about that because he participated together with the governor of Zamfara and some of the Yoruba governors. So it was based on that he called me in the middle of the night and said that he would like me to participate. I should come over. And I went over to him immediately. And we sat down with the leaders of the unions. I think there were about 3 of them at the time, a couple of other people, and they made the proposal to me and said, would I be prepared to play this role? And I said, I'd be delighted to do so. They said, well, when do we start? I said, we can start right now. They wanted me to call Igboho, which I did. We put it on speakerphone, and I told him what was going on, and I told him that I needed an assurance from him right now that the people of the North, those that were on strike, that had refused to lift the embargo, that their main condition, their first condition, most important condition, was that he gave his word that they would be safe. And I thank God that Sunday Igboho there and then said to the hearing of everybody that he would do whatever I asked him to do. This is not the first time, and that he'll be delighted to guarantee their safety. Not only that, he'll be ready to meet them at the borders of Yoruba land, escort them in, and ensure that they were safe and protect them. That he is not targeting anybody that comes in peace, and therefore he'll be delighted to do that. He said this to the hearing of the governor. He spoke to the governor. He spoke to some of the northern leaders that were there, and that's how we began the process. And once they heard that, tempers calmed, people were far more reasonable and rational, and that's when real negotiations began. And we continued from there. So that's how it all began. Okay, there were other issues that they raised, a number of other issues, which we went into over the next couple of days. But at the end of the day, all their demands were met.
Including the billions of naira that they demanded?
Well, before then, because there is a background to this, and the beauty of this sort of thing is that you get to hear the other side. And I think the more of this sort of thing that we do, the better it will be for all of us, when we all come together across party lines, across regional and ethnic and religious lines, and sit down and talk. I mean, the perspective they gave, it had never occurred to me. I actually felt very, very, very sorry for them, what they had been to. And if you want me to, I can go over that a little bit, because it's important for people to understand that they weren't just sitting there asking for money. And others can do this. It's not something that's peculiar or exclusive to them. If people feel sufficiently aggrieved, they ought to take action and make demands of the government. And the first thing they were concerned about, it obviously was the issue of the security of their people. The second thing they were concerned about was the issue of multiple taxation along the federal roads, the federal highways, where they were being taxed. The third thing they were concerned about was compensation. They had lost 250 people at the Shasha killings. During the Shasha killings, they had lost over 100 people during the NSAS killings, and you know, their people had been targeted over and over and over again all over the South, particularly in the Southwest, over a short period of time. And they kept making the point that they had reported all these things to the government. Nobody had been arrested, nobody had been prosecuted, and they had decided to bring the country to a standstill. And these things had to be addressed together with a number of other issues. And they spoke with passion, and they were very convincing. And I think that Yaya Bello handled it very, very well. And he reached out to them, gave them the necessary assurances, difficult negotiations, difficult discussions. But at the end of the day, there was a resolution to the issue. They were satisfied with the conclusions. And on our own side, let me say on my own side, what I also told him as the representative of the federal government and the president was that what we want and what we demand in the Southwest is a more vigorous action against the foreign Fulani killers and butchers and terrorists that are slaughtering our people morning, day and night, mainly foreign, not necessarily Nigerian, that are literally living there and killing our people. And we wanted the government to ensure that they took more decisive action against them. We got that guarantee, and we've seen signs of it since that time, I have to say. So it went very well. It was a win-win situation. The embargo was very effective because at that time, a goat, which costs approximately 150,000 naira, I'm told, skyrocketed in some parts of the South to 1 million naira for one goat. That's really? If you could get, yeah, within and the period.
Right here in the North, they were also giving out foodstuff even without payment.
Absolutely. And you know, both sides were suffering. It wasn't as if it was just the South that was suffering. Prices rocketed. People were looking for foodstuffs, even to fly in meat. They blocked that and they policed it. They had task forces policing the roads. It was a very effective operation. And, you know, in the North, for example, they also suffered because their commodities were rotting away. Yes. Their vehicles were falling apart. But the position they took was that they didn't care. This was a union that represented 80 unions. They were extremely powerful, and they said they don't care. Their lives, their property, their security was more important, and they brought the country to a standstill. However, you know, it was resolved. There is an aspect of it, Ijoma, I don't know, I think I should mention this now, which is far more disturbing than just a food embargo. And this is what a lot of people do not know or appreciate. The fact of the matter is that due to the killings in the South that had taken place over a period of time, some in the North, and I will not mention names here, but some in the North felt that there needed to be some kind of retaliatory action. And I saw evidence, I saw the evidence, which was presented to me by the convener of this meeting, of people that were planning to do this. And they had gone very, very, very far. And they made the point that because their people, the Hausa Fulani people, were being targeted in the Southwest,
allegedly,
sorry? Allegedly. No. I mean, I said yes. They made the assertion. And the facts also were very clear. I mean, there was a conflict in Shasha, that's a fact. It went both sides, both ways, yes. But many people were killed from the North there. So that's a fact, okay? And they now said, well, as far as they're concerned, they felt that it was time for them to retaliate. They're not going to talk anymore about anything. They're just going to orchestrate some kind of violence against Southerners in the North. And that was the main thing that Bello had to deal with. And he dealt with it effectively. We all participated in that because nobody wants anybody to be killed. There ought not to be such retaliations because, of course, if people did that in the North, there'll be retaliation in the South, and that's the beginning of a civil war. And usually wars start with embargoes like this. Yes. If it had gone on for another 1 week, tempers would have risen, people would have been targeted in the South, other people would have been targeted. It would have been a terrible thing. And what we managed to do was to avert that by calling those that were orchestrating this violence and threatening this violence to the table. One or two of them came to join us, and the minute they heard that Igboho had given that assurance, they also said, well, fine, if Igboho can say that, then we too are giving an assurance there'll be no violence. We did also involve the governor of Oyo State, and we also sent messages to 2 other Yoruba governors. So we weren't just acting on our own. The governor of Oyo State also made a contribution, gave his blessing to the whole process. That was the first initial meeting that we had. So the violence was averted, the reprisals were averted, the strike was averted, and everybody came together. And then afterwards, we had a very big meeting with lots and lots of people. And then
Chief, I need to take you. I can't be explaining what we're going through in Nigeria today because you and I live in this country, and we see it. And one of the effect of that is that our front lines are widening and the country is very much polarized at this moment. Now, all this your suggestion, do you think they can help to at least bridge the gap?
There is no doubt about it. Now, this is a very important question you've asked. As far as I'm concerned, before you play politics or you're in PDP or APC or whatever you are, you have to have a country to play politics in. And, you know, given what is going on in this country, we really do have to sit up. We are on the brink of a civil war. This is the reality. How we got there is neither here nor there. And it's not time to point fingers. It's a time to build bridges. It's a time to understand one another, and it's a time to come together. No matter how you feel, no matter how hurt you were, no matter how much pain you have suffered or how much loss you've suffered in the past. And I think that it is incumbent upon every leader in this country to literally take that course rather than inflame passions and widen the fault lines. I say this because if, God forbid, we enter that conflict, and I have to say this so that people understand what we may get into if we don't get our act together. You will have a war in this country in which over 50 million people will die in the space of, and it will probably go on for about 50 years. It'll be unimaginable. And God forbid we should get there. So this is a time for us to come together, work together, talk to one another, and try to ensure that, you know, there is no more violence. And we have a common enemy. The common enemy that we have are the terrorists that are killing people, not just in the southwest. They're killing people in the core north, in the middle belt, in the southeast, in the south-south, all over the country. And they're mainly foreigners. This is a fact that a lot of people do not appreciate or accept. Now, we need to deal with that. The government needs to deal with that. As the people of the north felt the pain of what was happening to their people in the southwest and in the south, Southerners, and particularly Yorubas, indeed Southerners, also feel the pain of being the subjects of terror. Not just Southerners, Northerners as well. The subjects of terror of those that have come to our country through the borders and are slaughtering and kidnapping our people on a daily basis. So we need to ensure that the government fights these people. Then we have to come together as a people, not as Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba. We need to build the bridge, join forces, work together as one, and face the common enemy with vigor and with strength. That's the way forward, and that's how we can save Nigeria and keep our peace.
Now, Chief, you went to visit Igboho, and I saw some of the footages. I saw them online. I also took some of them on the program during your visitation to that state. And immediately you left Igboho. A few days later, he was being chased for arrest. So does that not mean that, what was the essence of your visitation, if that will happen?
The fact of the matter is that did not do, what happened a few days later, and what happened was that we sat down and we made it clear to one another where we stood. I needed to hear from him. Like I said, there was a background to that. A few days earlier, we had the Shasha killings. He was in Germany. He flew back just to sit with me and talk, and we sat down and had this crucial meeting. That's when he gave his commitment that, listen, Hausa Fulani people are not his enemies. They're not my enemies. The enemies are the terrorists in the forest. And these are the people that we need to defend ourselves against. He gave that commitment, successful meeting, and we left. And he made a commitment even to the federal government and to many people, the governor, all the rest of them, that he's not looking for trouble. He's simply trying to protect our land and the integrity and safety of our people, which we all agree with. He's something of a hero in the Southwest, together with Gani Adams, Ariel Nakakafu, and others. So we resolved that. Now, what happened on his way to Lagos to see Babadi Banjo and all the other Southwestern leaders is something that has to be explained by the officers that tried to do what they tried to do. I know for a fact that the Inspector General of Police was not involved in that. I know this because when I went to the south and down to Ibadan on that occasion, one of the people that asked me to reach out to Sunday Igboho through the governor of Zamfara State was the Inspector General of Police. And what he said, what he told them to tell me was that he's ready to work with Igboho as long as he does it within the law and works with our security agencies. In other words, for Igboho to assist our security agencies to fish these people out, which is a good thing. So the police were not after him. And who was after him? That's a good question. Was it from the federal level or the local level? I think this was a rogue operation. I think it was an attempt to destabilize the whole of the Southwest, because believe me, if he had been killed on that day, or if he had been arrested on that day unjustly, there would have been a lot of trouble. All our efforts to bring everybody together would have failed. And I thank God that he wasn't arrested, he wasn't killed, he went for his meeting, he went back to Ibadan the same day, and nobody has sought to arrest him or trouble him ever since. Indeed, I know that today, for example, he has been working closely with the Commissioner of Police in Oyo State. I also know that other people from the Southwest who are our defenders in the fray, people like our leader, Gani Adams, and so many others, are also working closely with the authorities and security agencies to protect our people from the mass murdering Fulani, foreign Fulani killers that have come to kill not just Yoruba people, but people from all over the country.
All right, Mr. Let's just quickly, before I go to the next question, let's take a look at her Twitter handle. You know, when you're on air, a lot of people want to watch, they want to really react. And to be part of this, all you need to do is to follow us on our official handle at Democracy Number Today. You can also follow me on my handle at EJ Osamo. Send in your messages and we'll take, I'll just quickly take this coming from Moye Anthony. It says, it's quite unfortunate our governments in Africa ridicule themselves and cause people to have little or no confidence in them. African governments should learn to stand by their words and promise as to regain the lost confidence. I think he was talking about the palliative, and he went further to say food blockade is an evil wind that blows no part of the country good. The major culprit is the whole issue. In the whole issue is the governors that are breeding thugs and commodity produce due to their inability to create sustainable jobs for the youth. That's another point. There are those who believe that the challenge we have in Nigeria today has to do with youth unemployment, the youth restiveness and all that. So many people, especially from the northern part of Nigeria, you can see the rate of poverty across the country is high.
Absolutely true.
And this alleged kidnappers or criminal headers, as they are called in some quarters, these people do not just get into your community without somebody in the community. So it seems that they are working with people of origin of that community. So how do we stop it if this is what is going on?
He's absolutely right. Poverty and the fact that people don't have jobs, the kind of stress that people are going through now adds to this problem, and it makes people agitated and they do things they shouldn't do in reaction to those that trouble them. And there's no question about that. We are in a lot of trouble in terms of what's going on with our youths. People are suffering, they don't have money, they don't have food. That is one issue and one problem which needs to be addressed directly by the federal government and the state governors and so on and so forth. That's about governance, and I agree with that. However, I think that we should not, the issue of the terrorists, whether you call them bandits, herdsmen, whatever you like to call them, depending on which part of the country you're in, is a completely different one. And it needs to be understood. I'm a title holder in Zamfara State in Shinkafi, and
that's what I wanted to ask. Somebody said, since you took a chieftaincy title from the north, you've been sounding supportive, calm, very unlike you.
No, I say things that are appropriate at the appropriate time. I think the time for us I have not changed my views about so many things. I have my fundamental core values and beliefs, and I'll stand by that. But I also know there are people in the north that are moderate, that are reasonable, that wish to reach out to others in the south, as there are in the south, for us to move the country together as one. So you cannot demonize a whole tribe. You cannot demonize a whole faith. And I think that's a lesson we all learn over a period of time. And we mustn't speak out of anger all the time. Otherwise, it'll create an inferno for all of us and nobody wins. The fact of the matter is, in a place like Zamfara State, at one point in time, not too long ago, 300 people were being killed per day by the same terrorists that are killing our people in the southwest. Sokoto, 100, 200 per day. By the same people that are killing our people in the west. Foreign terrorists, mainly foreign, doing this all over the core north, all over the middle belt, all over the south. What we tend to do, and the mistake we made in the past, it's a very good question you put, is this. we felt the pain of the people of the Middle Belt, and we said, oh, this is an attack on the people of the Middle Belt by these terrorists. It's an attack on the people of the South by these terrorists. But we failed to appreciate the fact that the same people were attacking the people of the North, and we were all suffering together. And what happened? We started pointing fingers at one another. And the terrorists enjoyed that, because what happened was that there was more national dissension and division, which created an atmosphere for them to operate even more. We're blaming one another, pointing at one another. The next thing, we all pick up guns. And honestly speaking, this is where it was going. We all pick up guns and start saying, oh, it's his fault, it's her fault, and we start killing one another, and God forbid. And I think that the path we're treading now is the path that is the right and proper one. That is a path of peace, reaching out to men and women of goodwill and understanding to say, listen, before we play the politics and talk about issues that disturb us on a day-to-day basis, or even 2023 or whatever, we need to have a country in which we have peace and understanding amongst the people, and we must build bridges, even with those that are considered to be very extreme. I speak to everybody. I speak to those on people like Nnamdi Kanu. He's my friend. He will always be my friend. I speak with him. I discuss things with. We may not agree on everything. I speak with Igboho. I speak with Gani Adams. I speak with Afeni. I speak with every key player in this country, across party lines, about trying to enhance peace and unity in our country. Once we have that peace and a little bit of sanity, then we can start playing politics again and pointing fingers at one another.
All right, before I let you go, I need to just point out the development from Ibadan, the Oyo State, I think the Oyo State capital, talking about the arrest of the OPC. And one of the members of the OPC that we spoke with said something, that the police arrested them, but the police didn't go after the criminals. That's exactly. So if we're looking at that, the people do not have trust for those government apparatus.
Absolutely. And this is the problem that we have. Let me just make this very clear. The truth of the matter, and I have to be honest with you here, that ever since we had that meeting, the police have been far, in fact, even before that meeting, the police have been far more active and serious about this than before. Then Mr. President came out and gave a directive that anybody carrying an AK-47 should be shot on sight. That was a breakthrough. And I can tell you, it is being implemented quietly in a number of places by the security forces. I can tell you that. I won't go into detail, but I can tell you that. Now, what happened in Ibadan was a classic case of people saying, look, enough is enough. You're not doing enough. We'll do it ourselves if you don't do it. And they went there. The OPC did not kill the person that was arrested. They did not torture him. They did not dehumanize him. They handed him over to the security agencies. I think it was unfortunate that they were then arrested. I'm glad they've been released today. And I call for continued collaboration in a peaceful way between the local groups like OPC, Gani Adams, Igboho, and others, Amotekun, together all over the country, not just in the south, but together with our federal security agencies, because the common enemy are those in those forests that are killing our people all over the country. And we must eliminate every single one of them and get our country back again.
All right, we'll be speaking with Chief Femi Fani Kayode. That's he's been telling us, you know, we are celebrating his chieftaincy title from the north. Very soon he will be called. Very soon they will give you a turban. They gave you a turban, I remember. Yes, they gave you a turban then. Yes. Well, we've been speaking with him, and he has said it. He has been able to tell Nigerians the role he played in at least bridging peace and also stopping the strike by the Amalgamated Union of Foodstuff and Cattle Dealers Association of Nigeria. And hopefully we'll be talking more. We need to talk until we see an end to our common enemy. That's what it is. And our common enemy, the bandits as well as the terrorists, which we are all praying so that peace will reign in Nigeria. Thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you.
But that's the much we can take on the program tonight. Remember to join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. for another episode of the program. And till then, I just say tweet at me at EJ or Samo. Good night.